Hi. Okay. So let's address the elephant in the room firstly, right? It's 1 a.m. It's 17 degrees. The hat is because I'm cold, right? It's not because I have no hair. Let's get that out of the way first. So for those of you who know me personally, you know that recently I've been playing a lot of Lost Ark, and the reason for that is we just cleared top, right? Which, by the way, was probably one of the best experiences I have ever had on stream in Final Fantasy, and I can't thank all of you enough for being a part of that journey, as painful as it was. It was an incredible amount of fun with all the voting that went on in the stream, and you know, just even watching the clear bit back, seeing the reactions of the what, like a thousand hours that we put in. It was incredible. One of the best things I've ever done. But yeah, so we just cleared top. My girlfriend hits me up. She's like, "Hey, you know, Artist is coming out. You're gonna play Lost Ark with me, right?" Right. So yeah, you know, here we are. I was summoned into the world of Lost Ark. I'm now 1,000 hours or so deep, and I have a 1490 Arcanist. And it was actually during this when I was playing Lost Ark, and we were still doing top reclears. I think we did 3 in total. And during, I think, the fourth attempt to get a reclear, at this point, me and the 3 others that were playing Lost Ark with me from my top group had all just sort of decided that it wasn't really worth the time to stick around and do that when we'd rather be playing other games. In our case, it was Lost Ark specifically, but the reclears, they weren't going so well out of a group that's put so much time into doing it. You would have expected a better performance. So I decided I was just going to nuke the group. Well, rather, I proposed they think about it, and the summoner decided, you know, he needed 10 seconds to think about it, and just left as a result. So what can you do? So yeah, that's a little bit of a prelude as to how we ended up here playing Lost Ark again in 2023, despite playing it a year ago when it launched, and quitting because I considered it to be a bad game back then. I started off my journey looking at the new classes that they've introduced since last year, and I found myself setting on Arcanist because it was dubbed one of the hardest classes to play with potentially the highest damage output. Now the issue with this is that I misunderstood the guide, and I kind of picked the wrong build, and probably my engravings aren't the best either, but you know, we're sort of in too deep now to change it, so we just kind of roll along with it. So you start going through the main story, and one of the first things that happens is you meet this priest guy that is just being attacked by bandits. I couldn't tell you why I don't fucking play the story. Nobody plays games for stories these days, but you gotta save him, and eventually you just sort of get Ponzi schemed into finding the arcs because this guy told you to, and it saves the world or some shit. Even though, ironically, everyone in town is telling you that the arcs are a fairy tale. So after doing story for a few days and grinding out the levels in the NSQ, you get to a point where raiding is on the table. And it would always be nice to raid in a group that lets you blind prog, but with old content that's always very difficult unless you have a pre-made group beforehand or you're all in agreement to do so. So at this point I start hitting up some friends and asking, you know, loosely if they'd be interested in playing Lost Ark with us and doing blind raids. And a lot of the responses were the typical stuff, you know, Lost Ark or Mega LOL, it's a shit game, it's too grindy, etc. But a good few of them did say yes, and as a result, before we knew it, I think we had sort of 10 plus unique characters in our guild. So things are looking good, you know, we had a full array group, we had a pretty good comp with 2 supports, everything was taken care of. It looked like we could have started doing blind prog raids for Lost Ark, and you know, everyone was pretty excited. But that's where things fell into the usual pattern of Lost Ark playing. After a while, people just start logging in less and less, and there's not as much drive to play the game because, let's be real, it is a difficult game to get into. It's certainly not a game for everyone. Out of the 12 or so that started, we were left with 4 active players and a couple casuals that didn't really have much interest in raiding and whatnot. But the 4 of us, you know, we kept playing and we started raiding. We were able to do Valton, we were able to do Vicus, and right now I think we're still progging Clown. It takes a while to get the eye level up, but the rating in this game is actually enjoyable, and it does make the grinding worth it. And as much as the gearing system is it's a bit shit, right? Let's not lie. It's a bit shit. It is a fun system nonetheless. And just being able to do these cool raids that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do it's a lot of fun. The raiding here is very different to Final Fantasy. It's a very different style of raiding, because Final Fantasy is very role-based, whereas this is mechanic, anyone does it type of thing. And even when it comes to stuff outside of raiding, like the horizontal stuff and the daily stuff, it's not as bad as it used to be. The horizontal stuff I actually really enjoy because it's such a passive thing that if you want to grind it, you can go and grind it. There's no stopping you from doing that. It might take ages passively, but if you put some time in to grind it, it doesn't take half as long as you think it would. And the dailies, they're not forced. I think it really depends on what kind of mindset you come into this game with. But so far, I am really enjoying my time raiding in this game and just playing it overall. This is, of course, it's not without its faults, right? Every game has its faults. So let's talk about those faults. What can Lost Ark do better? Bear in mind that I'm saying this from a perspective of someone who's come to play with the events. I'm not someone who's played since launch. So yeah, take that into consideration, I guess. I think the honing system is shit. I think it's awful that you can spend so long farming mats for it to fail. I think honing should be guaranteed, or at least like 75% up until a certain eye level. Once you get to that eye level, if you want to go higher, sure, you know, you can put them down at 3, but I think base honing chance at 3% with everything you could possibly add to it, only boosting it to like 10, I think that's really bad. I think the Lost Ark community, at least on EU Central, is complete dog shit too. Like, I don't agree with the way that Final Fantasy runs their MMO in the sense that if you call someone bad, you're gonna get a 3-day ban. But I don't think you should be allowed to tell people to, you know, to go catch cancer, to kill themselves, etc. without some kind of punishment going towards it. I don't mind being called a dickhead, I think that's part of life. But I think you can take things too far. And I think in Lost Ark case, it is certainly under-moderated. Legendary engravings, let's talk about that as well. I think that system is so bad. The fact that if you were playing solo, and you were my eye level, depending on the class you played, let's take Artist for example, because that's the one we're struggling with at the moment. If you were a solo artist using the first Hyper Express event, which runs out in 3 weeks, so you lose your engravings in 3 weeks, it would cost you probably around 120k gold to get yourself just the engravings. And that is 3 weeks worth of gold. I don't see that as a good system. I think legendary engraving books should be guaranteed, at least for the very first character you make, just so you can get yourself involved in the game, in the raiding community, and you can experience all the things that Lost Ark has to offer, because it is fundamentally a good game. But there's so much going against it that puts it down in that mid category or even bad category. And there's a whole lot more. I change a whole lot more stuff that I haven't even covered, you know. Daily things, you know, just reduce the grind, respect people's time more, to let them get into the game. It's simple stuff, but anyway, I know they're trying to fix a bunch of stuff. They're working on revamping some systems, so hopefully with a bit of luck, the game will be more respectful of your time soon. But the one big question I imagine most people have is, you know, where does this leave us with Final Fantasy? Am I still going to play? Am I still going to raid? Do I care? How do I feel about the game at the moment? Well, I guess this is the Final Fantasy part of this video. As someone who's actively put 12,000 hours into FFXIV, I can say it's a good game. The rating in that game has evolved so much since the time I started playing to where it is today. But if you look at the most recent encounter and the Criterion dungeons that they brought out, they're starting to fall off. So the issue with top is something that I think Xeno put really well.
design of this fight is absolutely fucking horrible. And it's fucking horrible because there's no role responsibilities in a role-based game.
The TLDR is in a role-based game. You can't break away from that formula without accommodating that properly. Making the Omega Protocol an entirely random encounter. The only thing that wasn't random is the fact that everything was scripted. I can see them moving away from the scripted base as a future. But let's look at this tier. I thought tier 1 was complete dog shit. I thought P2 was a good fight. I really liked P2. It showed what they could do when you take away, positionals. When you can work with the entire arena where everyone mostly still has uptime except for, the tank and the guy that has to run away with the spread. But I thought tier 2 was great. They had some pacing issues. They had some balancing issues with P8 Part 1, but I thought Tier 2 was great. I loved it. I thought Tier 2 was great. I thought Dragon Song Reprise was a fantastic ultimate. I thought it was really well designed, but they did have several years to make that. I've seen some of the stuff that they put out with 6.4, and it does make me want to raid again. I do want to go and do this final tier. In fact, I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and saying, "Hey, should we put together a quick last-second group to sort of do this tier casually?" But they said no. And the only reason I'm even not doing this tier is it's not because I don't want to. It's because I'm between two jobs, not in the sense that I'm out of work, but I might be getting sort of a new job type of thing. So I can't really afford to try and book time off to do this tier properly. If I'm doing it casually, then I want to do it with friends, to make sure I have fun. But I don't have a sub, and a lot of them just aren't really interested. So I'm not in a rush to go back to the game because I enjoy having the freedom to play other games at the moment. And there's a lot of other stuff that I'm excited for, like Blue Protocol. I'm really excited for Blue Protocol. It looks like such a good MMO that's so different to any other MMO that exists out on the market currently. So yeah, as far as XIV goes, yes, I'm going to be back. I still think it's a good game. I still want to do the final tier, and I'm definitely going to be playing it again. It's also really good stream content. It's something that I can easily stream and interact with people that are watching, as opposed to something like Lost Ark, which I'm still new to, so there's that whole focus on everything that we're doing. As for Blue Protocol, I think it's going to be a great game. I don't think it's going to respect your time. I truly think it's going to be another one of those free-to-play model MMOs, which personally I really don't like because I don't like the communities revolving around those free-to-play games, and generally their lifespan isn't very long either. So I'm hoping it's going to be a pay-to-play, but I really don't see that happening just because it's an anime MMO. And it's something that people have been wanting for a very long time. It's also, the way it's described from gameplay footage in Japan is that it's a very difficult MMO. So sort of a level 1 trash mob that in, generally speaking, MMOs, you'd be able to face roll that. Whereas in Blue Protocol, it's got mechanics that can kill you. So every fight is, a Dark Souls boss type of thing. Which I think is a very, very interesting take on the MMO genre. And it does kind of make me think of the SAO MMO that people have wanted for a while. But aside from that, TLDR, wrap up the video because it's now morning. I've been literally working on this all night. Yeah, XIV I'll definitely play again. I think Lost Ark is a decent game, but it needs a lot of changes. And I'm very much looking forward to Blue Protocol. So, I think that's the end. I don't think I have anything else to say. No idea how long this is. I think it's around 12 minutes now, which is not really what I was aiming for. I wanted slightly less. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one. So see you guys later. Also, I forgot to add, I will be doing more variety streaming over on my Twitch at twitch.tv/Evangelix. Come check it out if you're feeling so inclined.